Somebody once told me Datacrons are gonna roll me. They're the dumbest thing to be released since mods. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Xerath Prevails. Today, we're going to talk about Datacrons, and the way you can look at them, folks, the way I see them is they're a gateway to the off-meta. There's a lot of really cool teams that we have available here, and combined with set 10, it's going to be a really crazy one. We're in set 11 right now, or the ones that we're about to get into are set 11. The Thickcrons are set 9. We're going to be dusting those pretty soon, and it's going to open an era of some pretty crazy offense. So, speaking of offense, I don't want to give offense to my patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Truly appreciate everything you guys do. And guys, if you want to support this channel for free, all you've got to do is hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, comment, mount the algorithm. Much like set 11 for Datacrons, it's yours for the taking. Now, I do have people ask me about this every time at this point. I do have an infographic, and it's available on my Discord server. Link in the video description. Scroll down to the channel. It's toward the end, toward the bottom of the Discord server, and it's free for the taking. You guys can zoom in as much as you like. You don't have to take a screenshot or anything from this video, and you guys can share it with your guild or with no one, because we want to make sure that no one has the secret information that we have, so we have an edge in GAC and territory wars, right? So let's jump into it. I want to show you guys first the smaller things about this specific set, and then I'll show you some of the teams that we're going to be looking at, and Datacron loadouts, because Conquest is here pretty soon, and you're going to want to farm a few of them before you get any of the other ones. You're going to want a lot of set 11. I'll just tell you that one right now. So let's jump into the game. Whoa, we're in the game. Madness. Is this set 11? I think it is. Wow, okay, so lot of factions this time. We have Imperial Troopers, unaligned Force users, which, to be real clear and upfront right now, is a dark side only faction in terms of just like if you roll light side, you're not going to roll unaligned Force user. It's all through the dark side. So none of your light side UFU teams are going to have that level 3, including, I think Rey is probably the most egregious on that. She's going to want a dark side Kron, apparently. But you also have Ewoks, which, I mean, you're probably only going to need one Kron for that, as far as I can tell. But then Rebels, one of the biggest factions in the game. There's going to be a lot to talk about there. So for the light side and dark side ones, honestly, guys, there's only one that interests me even a little bit. You just have this: whenever light side allies use a basic ability, they gain critical chance up, crit damage up, and offense up. So that's the same for both light and dark. You get those 3 buffs whenever they use a basic ability. So if someone calls a mass assist at the very start of their turn, they gain those 3 buffs. There's going to be a lot of buffs to dispel. Starkiller with his AoE is going to absolutely feast. So that's basically the one that I want to get, folks. Sometimes, rarely, maybe you're going to want this protection up one. And I suppose that maybe Wampa would want this top one, though. Wampa probably wants the crit chance up, crit damage up, and offense up, to be honest. But one way or another, I would say for the most part, that's the only one you want, is the multiple buffs one. So for the factions, they're all pretty different. Imperial Troopers have a few things. First off, remember the stacking critical damage. We always look at these stacking damage things and think, okay, we want to do that for sure. But the thing is, critical damage on a Veer's team with Dark Trooper doesn't do much, because the main damage that they're doing is through Dark Trooper, and he does not crit. So boosting their crit damage doesn't really do that much. So otherwise, if you look at all the other ones, there are a few that are kind of nice. First off, Troopers love that level 3, because remember, especially under the Veer's lead with Piet, every time you gain a buff, you're going to gain turn meter. All of them, as they're doing basics, are going to just be, it's going to essentially mean endless turn meter loop for troopers if you can get it going. And so how else do you want to supplement that? Well, you could, if you wanted to, do the end of the turn Imperial Trooper allies gain defense pen up and offense up. So 2 more buffs. I think that's a pretty good one. The other one, and I think this is going to be really impactful because we have really good stats, which I should have covered before, but if they gain offense equal to 400% of their current defense, and then they lose 50% defense. The thing is, guys, we also have these defense defense as a stat. Now, I'm not sure what the order of operations is. If they let you add all of your defense percentage to the total for your offense, I think that's how it works. I could be wrong. One way or another, though, it's going to be a whole lot. You might want to remod just a little bit to add a little extra defense so that your Dark Trooper punches extra hard. But one way or another, that one's just a completely crazy amount of damage that you're going to be doing, and almost the rest of them, the rest of them almost don't even matter. Now, in terms of stats, before we continue on here, folks, this is looking very, very similar to what set 9 was. Of course, we don't have the thick Cron level 3s that was so impactful, and we're all kind of just weary of them, but you get health, protection, and defense. The 3 kind of really strong stats that are going to help you. Remember, defense is just a blanket kind of armor. It's armor and resistance both. Really strong. It applies against both types of damage. And so armor pen, for instance, from set 10 that we currently have, armor pen is like only works with physical damage against this defense. So you know, it's good against all the different defenses. Health steal, really good for your Galactic Legends. Accuracy, the only bad stat in the whole thing. The only bad stat on all of it, other than accuracy, is we only have 1 extra form of damage, and that's crit damage. And that's probably not ideal for some of your teams. So set 10 is going to be the one that it's your go-to for extra damage for the most part. Now, we looked at troopers and unaligned force users. There are a lot of teams, like we have Malicos now, we have Starkiller, we have Rey is kind of an UFU team because we have Ben and Rey and Jedi Training Rey, etc. That there's a few different ones that are good. First off, if you whenever a dark side unaligned force user gains a buff or debuff, then all unaligned force user allies, so a Darksider has to get the buff, but then everyone else gets 5% stacking defense. It's a pretty good option because that extra defense will stack alongside all the other defense that you've piled on your set. You also have, whenever unaligned force user allies grant a buff to another ally, that ally gains 10% turn meter. So teams with Seer Lead and Malicos, it's going to be really strong. You also have, I think the other one that's nice with Rey, you can boost each other. So if you target someone else, but it doesn't matter which ally, as long as you target them, then with an ability, then that person who's targeting and the person who's targeted get 5% defense, max health, max protection, and offense. So Rey is going to be, with Lifeblood, she's going to be boosting her offense like crazy the whole time. Now Ewoks, you're probably just going to get this huge stack of buffs from the Ewoks, and then after that you're just going to want the Ewok ally gain 2% offense whenever an ally attacks out of turn, because you're going to use Chirpa and everyone's going to attack out of turn. It's going to be a little bit crazy. Nisa boosts herself a lot. Now Rebels, there's not as many overpowered ones. I'm sorry, let's go back. Unaligned force users, the final one that can't be overlooked, Starkiller, is going to absolutely destroy for a few months, because when a force user ally uses a special ability, they gain riposte for 2 turns, which is when they attack out of turn, they ignore protection, which means you're going to be calling Starkiller a lot with EP Mara, and he's just going to ignore protection. It's going to be really brutal. Rebels don't have anything that is very interesting because they do so many buffs that the one that gives turn meter doesn't really help that much. There's also the one I mean, there's a few that you can do ability block, but I mean, and that's fine as a default-ish, but I think the best one is going to be the one where they reduce the damage. If they have more than 50% turn meter, they reduce the damage that they receive. It's probably across the board going to be one of the best ones that you have. Now, in terms of characters, well, we'll talk about that. Visas Mar looks very, very strong. So let's jump back to the infographic, folks, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. So here's what the infographic looks like. On the right-hand side, it's going to have pictures of set 10, all the different teams that prefer set 10. The little yellow asterisks show that that's a Galactic Legend. I keep all the Galactic Legend teams on these so that people can see, and I actually made this infographic significantly larger than the ones in the past, just so we could fit more teams on there. And so let's actually go into a little bit more depth. So the must-haves, guys, and obviously this is only if you have these teams already, but the ones you really, really want to have here, folks, are first off, you have the Starkiller team with Visas. Now remember, with Visas level 9, once someone dies, she instantly gets a turn and can revive them. Which is going to be, it's going to make that team really frustrating. Everyone's going to kill Visas first. They have to. And so it's going to mess with turn order and everything. And then riposte from Starkiller. And then the dark side buffs on the level 3 are going to make sure that he is doing his offense up and all of that stuff. It's very impressive. Now, the Inquisition are going to take so many turns because they hand out the turns. There's a lot of really good level 6s for UFUs, and this one is the one that fits them the best, probably, is the turn meter for buffs. They only get 10% per buff per turn, but they all hand each other so many buffs, they're going to just get a crazy amount of turn meter, and then they're all going to be using offense up, etc. You can do defense, crit damage, whatever, but it's going to be a really good team on offense, probably on defense as well. Now, moving along, we have a couple different builds for troopers, and then there's one for Iden way down the line. But for troopers, you can see if you make your Iden faster. I made a video about this actually, but if you make your Iden faster and you take Watt, then you're going to be able to punch Lord Vader out, assuming they don't have a way to interrupt you, and make like this with Watt. You're almost guaranteed to go after Lord Vader does his AoE and Maul does his AoE. Unless there's like Canderous can interrupt it. But for the most part, you're going to ensure that you go first. You want to go before Maul gets his big amount of hits. But then the really awesome part about this, guys, is the level 3 is going to guarantee that you get a ton of turn meter, and you're going to be able to cycle through and take out that Lord Vader team. Plus the thick crons are gone, and you're going to be fine. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, Scout Trooper makes a really nice addition to a Veer's team. Yes, I know Scout Trooper is going to go with the self-proclaimed Dark Trooper Gideon, but for now, really strong addition to a Veer's team. And then we also have the Seer team with Malicos, and so you can there's a lot of options for this one, frankly. So first you have to do the dark side one if you want to get an UFU, and then you could do one where everyone's giving buffs to each other, so that's nice. Or you could do riposte, because remember, Malicos is always assisting. He's attacking out of turn all the time. As long as someone does a special, he assists, which is going to be crazy if you combine him with Maul, for instance. Just going to be pretty bonkers. You can also add, here, it's not letting me drag it, or you can just get extra defense so that you don't take as much damage. And then you probably want the Malicos one. The Fulcrum one looks pretty good. I'm almost thinking the Fulcrum one is going to be like a Territory Wars one, is what my guess is for now. Malicos starts with stats and stuff. It's pretty nasty. Fulcrum kind of steals the show in Territory Wars. So a really good squad, and you just want a lot of health on them. Next, we have Galactic Legend Leia. This is the last of the ones that I'm saying you must have. And I know not everyone watching is going to have Malicos. Not everyone watching especially is going to have Leia. I don't have Leia yet. I'll probably have her for 3v3 in time. But the big one for her, so you're going to want the light side buffs, and then you're going to want the thing that doesn't let people do damage to you. And then Drogon is really the real Relic 9. You could get the Leia Organa Kron, It's not bad. It's fine. I think the Drogon one is going to end up just dominating this set though, and she's already really strong, guys. She's really strong, and you're gonna, if you have her, you're gonna want a good cron for her. I mean, Datacron specific to Galactic Legends have always been pretty strong, right? So another team that's I'm interested to see if they steal the spotlight, guys. It's Mon Mothma and company. So Wedge has a cron that lets him, and remember, these are all activated at level 5. You don't need level 7 for this set. Again, they kept the reduced 1 through 5 iteration to be able to let relics 1 through 5 be able to access all Datacron levels. So nice to not need Relic 7 on any of these. And Mon Mothma, so light side buffs, everyone's gonna have all these awesome buffs. Offense up, and you know, the stuff we've read about from the level 3, because they're gonna do basics and they're just consistently going to be doing it. So they're gonna be doing max damage. You can also, though, take the damage reduction thing, and depending on who you're fighting, they're gonna punch way up, because if they don't get a ton of damage done to them, then they're going to be able to start punching harder. Than Wedge is going to shoot twice every time someone goes. And I'm very interested to see where Mon Mothma goes with this. Rey with her team, like I said before. So you can see the little note that I have. It's awkward. See note 1. You guys can read note 1 on the infographic yourself. But it basically just says you need to use dark side for Omicrons, that for Ufu Omicrons, because light side, it doesn't exist on the light side this time. Just like light side last time was the focus, dark side couldn't get an Omicron, even though then you could get like the Mara Jade Cron after you get a light side one. It was very strange. Now looking at Ewoks, I don't know. If you have Ewoks, you're probably pretty dang excited. I'm debating whether I should put an Omicron on Chirpa or not on this account. I could get the trifecta at that point, but it looks pretty good, guys. Nisa, she's just going to be a monster, I think. And now that we can see that she has a shorter ability, or a shorter animation, I think it was Gerbil who showed that in his video, that she has a shorter animation. They're going to be able to take some big things down. Are they going to be good long term? I kind of don't think so, but I do think that this team is going to pack a punch this season. I'm very interested to see where it goes. And, I mean, I have them all at Relic 3 at least, so I may as well experiment with it a little bit. Jedi Master Luke, he very well may want set 10, just because it's a Jedi set and you can do all the foresight, boosting damage and all that stuff. You can also just, you can do this one and get a bunch of protection stats, and then all your light side buffs are going to be good. It's either one. The Akbar Kron or Omicron with Princess Leia with the Akbar level 9 is also, they're already gonna, with the level 3, oh my gosh, with the level 3 they're gonna get so many buffs, and all those buffs are gonna expire, and it's gonna feed so much turn meter to the squad that already gets so much turn meter. Akbar also on level 9 gets a ton of turn meter. I am super interested in what this team's going to do. I almost think you just run it with 3-man, even though it's in 5s. We'll see how that ends up going, but I'm very interested to see where it goes, folks. We also have CLS. CLS might prefer set 10 because there's some good Wookiee crons there, and you can also, you know, you can do a lot of armor pen and stuff, but also the damage reduction thing is pretty good, and all the offense up is really good. Crit damage and you want a lot of these stats, and it's all rebel stuff. So, I mean, eventually you're going to want a cron with CLS, whether you get one for this set or not. And then we, you know, once set 9 or set 10 is gone, you're going to want to set 11 one regardless. Silly Eternal Emperor, he just wants a bunch of defense and health. Adrad is going to just want defense and protection, and then, hey, don't do as much damage to me and give us a bunch of more buffs, like it didn't already flood the screen with all of his buffs. Sure, yeah, we can do that. Lord Vader probably just wants to play the same thing. He has Maul on his team a lot of times. Sometimes he has the Horn-Chinian woman, and so the defense stacking thing for them is really good. Especially Ninth Sister is really going to like the defense stacking, and then you know, you can get all the really thick Kron kind of stats for Lord Vader. Seems like it's going to be a pretty decent build this time around as well. Jabba just wants to be thick, and everyone's going to have extra buffs as well. Supreme Leader Kylo, he's an Ufu himself, so is Crew, and so you're going to be able to stack defense on them. It's going to be fairly obnoxious. Finally, we have this Iden team, and probably the same thing. You're going to give up all your defense for a ton of offense. You're going to delete people because she gets to go first. It looks like a fun Kron set, folks. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Go get the infographic in the linked in the video description to my Discord. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails.